I'm going to share with you the absolute worst day of my career ever. And some of you may not believe this story, but it's absolutely 100% true. So go back into time. The year was 1982. And yes, I was young then. And I got this really crappy job with a company called a loan company, a finance company, and I won't name them by name. They were their initials were the Associates Financial Services. Now, they're out of business now anyway. And I was an outside collector. I was a debt collector. My job was to go chase people down for past due payments. Now, one of their big businesses was financing things like vacuum sweepers, sewing machines, television sets, that kind of thing. 90 days same as cash. And you know, a lot of times people just wouldn't pay on time, and you couldn't get a hold of them by phone. So they had people like me get in our cars and drive to their homes or wherever and try to track them down, get them. If we couldn't get a payment, get them caught up, at least get them on the phone with the branch manager. That was the idea, right? So this particular day was in summer. And I remember just like it just happened. You just get something that just burns in your memory and you never forget. So it was one of those really hot midsummer days. I'm going to say late July, August, mid-August. You know, the kind of day where it's about 90 degrees, 80% humidity, where it's just soupy outside. Well, I had this little car. It was called a Ford Fiesta, I think, and it had no air conditioning and a manual shift on it. It was good on gas. At any rate, so my job this particular day was to track down some people who owed the associates money, which is no different than any other day of the week. But this day was going to be really, really special. And I kind of had an ominous feeling when my boss calls me in and talks to me about the first stop that I needed to make. And this was somebody who had taken out a loan with the company and used a semi-tractor and a car as collateral for the loan. And what he wanted me to do, if I could not get payments off of him, if I could not get him on the phone, well, he wanted me to do that, but I also had to look at the collateral. They had an inspection form. They wanted me to look it over, maybe to put a good scare into these guys. I don't know. So anyhow, this place was going to be about 10 miles away from the office, and this is what got to me. This was the omen. The assistant manager comes up to me and goes, "Be careful of this guy's son. They call him Meat." I look at him like, "What? Meat?" He goes, "Just trust me. The guy's an animal. Just don't piss him off." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty much sure driving out to his house, showing up unannounced and asking for money is probably going to piss him off. But hey, I got a wife and a kid and all this stuff. I got to do my job. So I head out there in the middle of nowhere, right? I'm using these maps, and it's very rural, out in the middle of nowhere. And I pull up to this old farmhouse in a rundown barn. I see all these broken down old vehicles in the yard. And one of those vehicles appeared to be a semi-tractor. And it's the kind that had what they call a cab over. I think it was a GMC semi-tractor. I want to say it was called an Astro. But anyway, I go walking up to the house, and I knock on the door, and this Shrek person, huge guy, answers the door, and I ask for so-and-so. He goes, "That's my dad. He ain't home." And I said, well, I told him who I was with, and he goes, "I don't know nothing about it." And I said, well, they asked me to at least give him a message, leave him a message, call the office. Yeah. I said, "By the way, I need to inspect the collateral." And he goes, "Whatever, just don't upset my dad." I go, "Was your dad around?" And I already asked like twice. And he goes, "No, he's not around." Okay. So the first piece of collateral was this car. I want to say a Buick Regal or something like that. And it was a black one, I know that. And there was a black car, but the odd thing was there was a engine hoist in front of the car. Somebody had taken the motor out of it. Well, that's not going to sit well with the associates. So then I went over to the semi-tractor and opened the door, and there's like a little ladder thing, and I pulled myself in. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been in a semi-tractor in my life. I'm supposed to find the serial number and the miles on it and the overall general condition, and this thing looked terrible. It was a big, ugly, green-looking thing. And so I'm looking around in there, and I for some reason, I decided to get back out of the cab. And I put my hand on the ladder. Next thing you know, I'm laying flat on the ground, and there's this mountain of a guy, his fist cocked, telling me, "Why don't I kill you right now?" And man, this just scared the crap out of me. And so I said, "I'll tell you what. The reason you don't want to kill me right now is because I am going to get up, and you see that little red car? I'm going to get into that little red car, and I'm going to leave right now." And he was not a happy camper at all. So he picks me up, and I'm telling you, this man's arms were that big around. There was no way in hell I was going to win at going fisticuffs with him. So he lifts me up literally off the ground and says, "Go get your butt in that car and get the hell out of here." And so I did. So I had that to contend with. Okay, the next part of this story. So I finally calmed my nerves down. I stopped in this little roadside, like little diner, and in the middle of just a really tiny little podunk town. Calmed my nerves down. I figured, you know what? I'm really questioning this job. Is this really for me? And I said, you know what? Yes, I can do this job. So I make another stop. Nobody's home. The next phase of this, I'm going to call the Little House on the Big, Big Prairie. So it's now about 1:30 in the afternoon, hotter than blazes. I have to wear a shirt and a tie, but I loosen it, right? And I'm just trying to keep cool. So there's some customers that had a vacuum cleaner financed. And again, in the middle of the country, just nothing but cornfields and soybean fields all the way around. Well, I pull up to the driveway. See, as I pull up, I see the front door is open and curtains pulled back in the living room window. So as I get out of my car, the front door shuts and the window curtains close. So oh man. So I go to the back door, and as I'm going to the back door slams shut. Being stupid, I say, "Look, I just need to talk to you. I know you're all in there. Just talk to me, and we can get this thing settled." I go back to the front of the house. Now, this is where I have a dumbass attack, right? There's this front window. So if you look straight on the front of the house, there's a little porch, there's a front door, and there's a window on the left and one on the right. That's it. So the window on the right, I'm staring at, I walk up to it because it's open to crack, although the curtains are closed. I said, "Please talk to me. I know you guys are in there. I want to talk to you. I don't want to have to repossess your vacuum sweeper." And all of a sudden, I hear a tap, 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 and the curtains open, and the barrel of a shotgun comes pointing right down in my nose. I kid you not. Let's put it this way. It was a great thing I had excellent bladder control at that time. It's like, "You have got to be kidding me." I said, fine, I'm leaving. And now I've pretty much made up my mind. This job is not for me. And then when I get back, I'm going to start looking for another job. Because I have never just up and quit a job before in my life without having something better lined up and giving notice and all this kind of thing. That's what you do. All right. Well, now let's talk about part 3 of this story. I was really shook up, and I had to go to a city called Logansport, which was north of where I was based out of, Kokomo, Indiana. And I'm having this debate, see, inside. Should I quit? What should I do? This is obviously going to be a lot more dangerous work than what I thought, and the pay was horrible. The pay was horrible. It was just like 30 cents a mile plus the little cheap salary that I was on. I think they were paying me like $10,000 a year. Yeah, it was not It wasn't great money, not especially for the kind of risk you were taking. Okay. So I make it up to Logansport, and there's a couple accounts that I chased down. These people weren't too bad, and talked to them, and they didn't have money, but I got them on the phone with the boss. Everything's fine. My last stop in Logansport's this, I forget what, he had a car loan, I think, financed with us. And the guy didn't have, his phone wasn't working, see? He didn't have a phone. So it was an old house, like a 3-story house converted to apartments. So I decide that, okay, I'm going to go in there and try to find his apartment and talk to him, see if I can't at least get him on the phone to the boss. So I walk up and find his apartment number, and I hear a television. Good sign. Knock on the door. Guy asks who it is. I told him who I was with. He says, come in. And he's sitting in an easy chair, see? He's sitting in an easy chair across the room, and he's got a blanket over his lap, and he's got his arm out, and I think he was disabled. That's what my first impression was. He was disabled. He seemed like a decent Joe, and I explained to him, the boss wants to talk to you about your car loan. And he explains to me he doesn't have a phone, got disconnected, and gives me this hard luck story. And believe me, when you work collections anywhere, you hear lots and lots of hard luck stories. But I'm a decent human being, and I listened to him, and I empathized with him, but I still was a man on a mission. I still needed to get him on the phone to the boss, which meant we were going to have to get him into my car and take him to a payphone. Anyhow, he finally says, you know what? I'm glad you're a nice guy. And he moves that blanket, and he had a .45 pistol pointed at me the whole time. I just like, what the? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you invite me in and point a gun at me? I still kept my composure enough to get him in the car, drive him to the payphone, get him on the phone with the boss, and then I made the decision. I was finished, not in 2 weeks, not job hunting time. I was done today. And to make things all just the icing on the cake, now mind you, I am quite a ways from home in the city I'm not familiar with, trying to make it back home, and the worst thunderstorm that I've ever recalled came up. The skies turned black, lightning, thunder, hail, and I'm talking like big rock-sized hail, which started dinging up my car. And I remember pulling into this little restaurant, used the payphone. I called my wife and I said, I'm telling you, after today, I'm done. I'm on my way home, and I'm not going back to this place. And she said, I don't blame you. And that was the worst day I've ever had on the job in my life. I had 2 guns pulled on me and one guy threatening to kill me all in one day, not to mention probably one of the worst thunderstorms I've ever been in. Yeah, that was the worst day I ever had on the job.